Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Mark from Solar Games, and I'm going to come to you today with a market update on Grand Archive, Alchemical Revolutions. Okay, um, this is the third set of Grand Archive. A lot of my after I made that MetaZoo video series, and I was like, oh, Grand Archive's way better. They handle this stuff better. Everyone's like, oh, tell me about Grand Archive. Like, what's going on? Is it trustworthy? Can I invest in Grand Archive? First of all, look, if you're like investing in Grand Archive and that's all you want to do is because you see the money in it, please don't do it. Like, you're gonna just hate yourself, right? Like, you gotta love the game. The game is good. I'm telling you right now, as a player of the game is very good. If you like Magic the Gathering, you like interactions, you like layer stack complicated like gameplay, Grand Archive is definitely for you. Now, from the perspective of like investments, whatever, I will say for now, it's kind of tricky. Just hold back and chill. But things are pretty positive for set three. So let me give you some numbers, right? Set three comes out. I think the MSRP or the map pricing was like 82, $83 or 82.99, something like that, right? And basically, like that's the minimum that people are going to sell for. So I decided to do some sale to the patrons around like I think my boxes were sold for 85 each, which I think is a very fair price. And my goal, of course, is just to get more players playing the game. If I take a much bigger hit on profit on the initial wave, that's fine because I'm going to order more product. I was very I was very honest with what I'm going to do with ALC, right? So I'm going to order more product, obviously, but the first wave I wanted to give as many patrons as possible the chance to go and of course play Grand Archive, collect the items, etc. So that's what I did. Overall, I think it was very successful. My patron sales were pretty good. In fact, I think I sold out of my like what I wanted to sell to the patrons within it was like about 2 days, basically. I mean, look, my patron count is not that big, so it's not that impressive. But it basically had an allocation for what I want to sell to the patrons, and it worked out perfectly, right? So the people who wanted the cards, that got the cards, everything's great. So come today and come to what's happening drastically, it looks like Weebs of the Shore, the creator of Grand Archive, has actually made some drastic changes to how they're doing things with ALC, right? So first, there were a lot of concerns. People were like concerned about what's happening with this first edition box. Is it, like the fact that none of the cards will say first edition? What happens when they then later print a Alchemical Revolution Ultra Edition, right? Like, how do you separate the cards? Well, you don't. It doesn't matter, right? And so what they're basically saying is like some of the cards, like basically the only cards that have the first edition like set words, because they're not in a symbol, they're just like marked on the card, is going to be the CSRs, right? So the collector super rares with the signature, the sig, the super texturized foil, full borderless, blow up in your face like everywhere foiling is the only one that's going to say first edition. Everything else is just going to say Alchemical Revolution, ALC, the set code, right? And at first, a lot of people were really concerned about this. They're like, oh, this product's not investable, blah, blah, blah. But see, the key to making something investable is actually fairly simple. You just make less of it, right? Alpha. Take alpha um, from Magic the Gathering. It's like, I don't know why I can't think of the game. Magic the Gathering didn't have anything like collectible, didn't have signatures, didn't even have foils, right? Foiling was a thing that came way later. I think I want to say Urza. Urza, the second Urza set, right, was when foiling was introduced to Magic the Gathering. Before that, there was no foils at all, right? And Alpha is infinitely collectible because why? The print run was so low. No one could get it, right? The cards were unique, and that they had the rounded corners, all that stuff. And so that's fine. That's all you need. And so looking at the numbers, right? Weebs of the Shore is so good about like how their card game is like basically transparently presented to their customer that they put up all the numbers, right? So of course you can go to the index dot, basically the index page for Grand Archive, which is essentially like a card database. You can look up any card, any version, and then they will tell you on that database what the print run number is, meaning how many are in existence, period. That's it. And now, like, you can, of course, say, I don't trust the number. I get it. Like, it's a thing, right? I totally understand if you don't trust the number. But I think there's no reason to lie about the number because if they're going to reveal the number, they're basically punching themselves in the face to reveal a false number, right? They're better off just not saying anything like every other card game. There's no obligation to give print run numbers per card. It's actually kind of insane. In addition to that, they also put up like box print runs. So how many, for example, Alchemical Revolution boxes were printing? The current like number is, well, it's not current, it's locked in because it's first edition, it's a one print run type of product. It's 27 point something K, right? So it's like a little bit more than the I think basically when I looked at it, it's a little bit more than the Alter edition for Dawn of Ash, right? But Alchemical Revolution, you got to remember, is kind of like Dawn of Ash. It's a bigger set, it has more cards. I think it was like 300 something cards um, for people to collect. And so we're at the point where like, hey, you're realizing you got to like open a lot of booster boxes to get all the cards, right? Especially because with Weebs the Short did something else that's actually kind of like smart. They put some cards in the ultra rare slot, right? 12 cards. Well, it's technically like 3 cards, so you need 4 copies of them, right? In the ultra rare slot. And the ultra rares are 1 per box, right? And of course, there's other cards you can open that you need 1 of. These are the regalias, material cards. So essentially, you have to open quite a bit of boxes, a minimum of 12 if you're super lucky, but probably more likely like, let's say 21. But if you think about it, right, like 21 is almost like 3.5 cases of cards um, to like get all the ultra rares, and that's the minimum, right? So it's always gonna be more than that. So it really encourages people to trade, but it also encourages box opening. So essentially, if you want to have a full set of all the cards playable, like a play set of ALC, my guesstimation currently is you're going to have to open like between 30 to 40 booster boxes minimum, right, to get the full play set of everything. Now, the SRs, whatever, it's going to be fine, except Academy Guide. Like, I don't know why that card is like some super rare or whatever. So, sorry, it is a super rare, but it's like super, super rare, right? I can't get any. Like, I think I got 2 of them opening, I want to say like it's got to be like 8 boxes already. It's insane. Like, especially when I almost have full playsets of every other super rare. I just have 2 of those cards. I don't know why. And then there's another one. I think it's like Invoke Obedience or something. That card I have 1 copy. I just like it blows my mind how this works, right? But anyways, um, I think I'm just being extremely unlucky. I'm sure there's some guy who has like 1,000 Academy guys and like no whatever SR I have, that are like 17 of. So essentially, right now we're at this situation where because of these like adjustments in how rarities are done, adjustments in what actually appears in the highest rarity, my thinking is that ALC is going to do very well. And I had this idea because I just looked at the set. It's like a much bigger set. People are treating this still like Fracture Crown, and it's not Fracture Crown. So if at this point you still think ALC is going to be like Fracture Crown, that it's going to be like, oh, it's going to just dip, I'm going to wait until the dip and buy, you are completely wrong. Will this thing and could this thing dip? Yes, because I don't think Weebs of the Shore have released the full inventory into distribution, right? There will be kind of like a soft wave 2, if you will. And I'm already putting orders now or requests into distributors. And once I get feedback on whether I can or cannot get any more boxes or how many I can get, that will basically give me an idea of like what's happening at the distribution, what's happening at Weebs of the Shore's warehouse, right? Whether more cars are coming or did everything literally get bought up by the market? And if this is not true, right? There's no like proof behind this, but if that first wave is also the only wave of Alchemical Revolution, dude, 95 a booster box, which is the current like market price for a booster box of ALC, is too cheap. If that's actually true, right? I don't know where it is right now. I think there's still more boxes, which is why I think 95 is a pretty good price. But meaning it's like a fair price for now. If there's no more booster boxes, 95, you'll see that thing shoot up. I think that box could go, I don't know, 110, 120 if there's actually no more supply. But given how much what I've seen people open, what I've seen like on the internet of people like having bought and just doing some like mental paper napkin math, I don't think all of the product has been released yet. I do think there is a wave 2. I believe that most players, if you want ALC at a decent price, just wait a little bit. I mean, I think one LGS I saw fire sell for like, I think it was $75.99. So I guess map pricing, minimum advertised price must have been $75.99. So I saw one LGS sell as low as that locally to me. But their boxes, I think they had like 24 boxes, was pretty much eaten up instantly. I think it was like within 24 hours, all the boxes were gone, right? So it doesn't matter. But in general, I think like what I sold is very fair and probably a very good price. Right now it's 95 on the open market. I'm gonna get a set too. I'm kind of asking my patrons if they want more. So obviously, if you want more and you want to be part of this revolution, you can of course join my Patreon. I don't advertise this very often, but links down below for the Patreon if you want to join. I also carry Magic Gathering products as well. So Magic, and of course Alchemical Revolutions, Grand Archive stuff, I will have. But also more starter decks, right? So the other thing that's really nice, exciting is that there's going to be more starter decks available, and these do not have a print run limit. So there are more starter decks out there. And the cool thing about the starter deck is actually you kind of need them because there are some cards in the starter decks that are exclusive that are not in the booster boxes at all, right? So you kind of need the starter decks for some of the regalia items, for some of the equipment items, essentially for your champion. And then, of course, you want to open some ALC booster boxes, and that does complete your kind of like playset collection, right? So there's that. I think that's just going to do it for me. Oh, that's right. One last thing. So, you know, it's been about a year since I started the whole Patreon thing. A little bit less than a year, right? So I think it was April last year when I full time started the whole Patreon thing. Um, Honestly, like my patron number has gone way up in the beginning and of course came way down because honestly, I'm just really bad at like updating and keeping people informed. And realistically, like, hey, look, I'm not gonna have all the products available. I don't have like infinite quantity like some of the other people. So it is what it is. But I do think overall I have been very fair and very good about pricing and very generous overall to my patrons about everything, right? There are some patrons who honestly use my Patreon just special request Pokemon stuff. I'm like, all right, sure. If I can get it from distribution, I'll ask, and if they have it, hey, you can have it, right? Basically, pretty easy pass through type of thing. Um, but one thing I do want to highlight, and it's like really cool that I was able to do this, is last year. Some of the Magic users know about this, but Phyrexia All Be One bundles were available. I was able to acquire through a source actually in Japan, right? One of my buddies that I made just randomly on the internet, a ton of complete bundles right back then. And the fun thing was that back then I said, hey, I think these things are cool and really interesting, unique product. They're going to last a long time. And what has essentially happened now is that that product, I think I basically was selling it to the patrons for about like 120, I think, a box back, maybe a little less than that if you bought a whole case. I don't really remember what I was selling it for, but it was quite a good price even back then. Well, the complete bundles, I think for the bundles now, I'm selling them on TCG Player for like 149, and people are still buying them. So as far as I can tell, that product has done really well, and I'm really happy that the patrons who got them early were able to kind of get that kind of pricing. So again, look, with any product, with any like market, whatever, you don't always win, but I do want to like highlight sometimes when the wins happen. I don't think I'm too negative sometimes, right? I'm always like, oh, this thing's sad, oh, this thing's dead. But hey, look, some products do go up, and they go up quite a bit and really fast. So yeah, complete bundles, man, they're $150 now. That's crazy. And expect them to go up even higher because again, what those bundles offered, right, in them was really unique. And I'm telling you, like, I'm not wrong usually when I have these like intuitions, right? Especially if the print run's limited, it's a unique looking product, the cards are unique, right? It's gonna be fine. And that's why I have confidence that ALC, the way that it's printed with like 27K-ish boxes, it's going to do fine over a long period of time. And everybody who's treating this like FTC is out of their minds. They're insane, right? But hey, like, people live to learn from their mistakes, right? So guess what? If it's a mistake you want to learn from, go for it. I'm going to stay on this side and be bullish on Grand Archive because, again, I love the game. And that's the thing. Like, a lot of these other games, right, where their weakness is that there is no gameplay. There is no player base to kind of support the game. Look at Magic. Recently, Magic has really gone positive. Wow, this video is running really long. We're going on tangents, but let me explain this last part, and I'll cut it off. But look at Magic, right? So right now, because Standard has gotten more interesting, Standard has gotten more people kind of enjoying it. Well, guess what? People are buying Standard cards again. I'm making sales that I've never seen before. Now, some parts of that is me adjusting how I run my store, but the other part of this is honestly because Magic's kind of on the up again, right? Things are changing in a way that players are really enjoying. players are seeing the value, and so they're buying the cards. Because again, a game needs to have actual players and it has to have good gameplay. The reason why MetaZoo failed, I'm gonna be honest, is that the game sucks. The game is non-existent. Yes, I know that people do play MetaZoo. It's a meme that nobody plays MetaZoo. People do play MetaZoo. But I'm gonna be honest right now, like it's not a good game, right? And if it doesn't have if it's not a good game and people are only playing just for the money, they're not playing for the fun, that's not going to last very long because again, if you only draw big numbers to your tournament because you're offering crazy amount of cash pricing, what happens when you can no longer offer those cash pricing, right? And that's where it kind of like it cannibalizes your game. So Magic doesn't have this problem because the game is good. Grand Archive doesn't have this problem because the game is good, right? And there's a couple like Flesh and Blood. The game is great. These are things that will make these games kind of like last a long time. The games that are just not for gameplay, and sorcery is kind of in this field. And yes, I promise you guys, I made a sorcery review video like last year during Thanksgiving. I never released it. I didn't feel like it was done justly, so I'll probably try to redo it again. But sorcery is in this field. It's a purely collectible thing. And I'm going to be honest, like if it's purely collectible, I don't want to open boxes for artwork. I want to just go buy artwork, right? Why don't I just go to the artist and say, hey, like you're the guys who drew this thing from sorcery. I love it. Let me buy that thing and put it on the wall. I don't want to have cards of this thing. And that's the part that I think a lot of people don't understand is that they think things are collectible just because they're collectible. They're not. They have to have a reason, have a purpose. This is why we call it a trading card game. It's not just a trading card, right? This is not baseball cards. It's not football cards, those kind of things. I get that whole collectability there, but remember that market is way bigger, right? And so that's the thing. That's why I believe in Grand Archive. That's why I believe in Magic the Gathering. And that's why in some ways I also kind of think I see the value of Pokemon. I just don't personally enjoy it, so I don't invest in it, right? But anyways, that's going to do it for me for today. I'm Mark from Solar Games. I'm out. Stay classy.